TV47 Breakfast. The hashtag is hashtag TV47 Breakfast. Tunasema kwamba ni hashtag kule Twitter. You can talk to us and tell us what you think about the element of food distribution. We're going to be talking about food distribution because some of the questions that have been flying around is, are we going to be having enough food on our shelves? We have the CEO of Fresh Produce Consortium, Mr. Ojepat Okisegere. But do remember also, we are talking about how we are coping at home. Lily Mainge amesema kwamba she has a 2-year-old at home who is keeping her busy. She watches the movies and she's soaking in the beauty of a family. What are you doing special? What are you doing as a person to help you cope with this pandemic and the partial lockdown that we are facing right now as a country? Niambie wewe unafanya nini specially ili usije ukachizi wanavyosema wengine kule mitaani. 22047 is the SMS line and at TV47KE on Twitter and on Facebook. We are live on Facebook. If you're moving away from your television, don't quit this conversation. Don't go too far away from this conversation. You can stream it live so that you move it with it to the kitchen, to the bedroom or wherever, and shoot your questions as well. But Trudin Abdallah unasema kwamba good morning to all Kenyans. If all we stand together, we can avoid this virus. I could even suggest no movement from county to county since this virus can spread. God forbid. We pray to Almighty God to bring for us a solution as we fight to overcome this virus. I urge everyone to stay at home and avoid unnecessary visits and minimize movements and unnecessary handshakes. Definitely. Let us try to practice all those steps of prevention of COVID-19. God protect our country. Amen. Asante sana, Batrudin Abdallah. It is indeed very crucial to stay at home. All right, Ibrahim Bwana, I have received your beautiful message. And at the Guinness, unasema, we are still at home, no work, no money, no essential resources to the struggling Kenyans, but we have to suffer and make the right choice. Well, somebody said we have to choose. We either die or we abide by the rules so that we can stay alive. Engineer Setho says, Banabi says, I'm watching Moshi kutoka Moshi, Tanzania. Shukrani sana mwenzangu, karibu sana. Abdi Mohamed, well, unauliza Go TV upatikana wapi, utajibiwa sasa hivi, usije ukaenda mbali. Engineer Kibbs, you're saying, you guys know TV47 is my home and I'm fast. Niko locked kama tarehe na wafuata mwendako Sotik, Bomet County, na wapenda sana Pang Channel 15. Karibu sana, tunakupenda pia. MC Kadida unasema Kiambuka Ngoya, well tuned. Kamodho ndugu Daniel unasema uko present kabisa. Glad to have you all. As we begin this conversation, remember you can stream this live as well. Just go to your Facebook timeline, go to start, and then start that live stream so you can move with this conversation wherever you go and shoot your questions as well. Karibu sana, Mr. Ojepat.
Thank you.
Well, how are you coping, first of all? It's something like some sort of a partial lockdown in the country right now.
I am not panicking.
Right.
I have accepted that we have coronavirus.
All right.
And the only way to deal with it is by accepting and by ensuring that we maintain the rules and regulations and the directive that will be given.
All right.
Because if I listen to and watch what happened in Spain and what's going on in Italy. It's not far from us. If we do not behave, that's the direction.
That's hundreds of deaths on a daily basis. It's massive.
There is something called consequences. And for me, I call consequences are here if we do not follow certain things. If we follow instructions and we work how we have been advised, we observe the social distancing, we clean our hands. These are basic things. People may call them basic, and yet they're the ones that are guiding the process. So for me, it's critical that we abide by the rule and run by the rule and just ensure that all is well.
And
so
we shall overcome, as they say.
Yeah.
Right. I was at Rongai Market yesterday and I heard them say kwamba masaa ya COVID imefika, you know, because it was around 5 p.m. So they're saying it's only an hour to masaa ya COVID. But thing is, the market was not as packed as it usually is. and the prices of vegetables and other basic fresh produce that we normally have gone high. Butternut, for instance, that we buy normally for 40 shillings, right now goes for 70 shillings. And if you try to bargain as a normal Kenyan, it would only be 60 shillings and things like that. There is a fear that we are not going to be able to have enough food, vegetables especially, in our markets, on our shelves, and if they'll be there, they'll be rare and expensive.
I really appreciate that this discussion is taking place now.
Right.
The first thing we must understand is that from the advice we've been given, one of the things that has been we have been advised to do is to eat nutritional food. And when you look at about nutrition here, it's about food, and that is about food and food distribution. We currently have food in the country, fruits and vegetables, for example. What we need to be very clear is the distribution patterns. And Kenyans are justified to have seen the prices go up because we have gone into a panic mood, and everybody has gone into a total, what I would call a panic purchase. And we are buying everything everywhere in anticipation that we're going to have a lockdown. But you can only do this for this much, for that long. For us in fresh produce, the most critical thing is how do we move vegetable from the farms to the market, following the rules and regulation. And why I've come with this sticker is we have organized with the government, and the distribution of food should not be limited to anyone who is ready and has come forward and needs support. As long as you've come forward and you need support, we will give you a sticker. We will provide the same details to the government in regulation and the security teams to be able to allow you to move food from point A to point B.
All right. So we have a sticker, and this sticker is actually written. Can I just show it first?
Yeah, it's okay.
So that they can be able to see. It's a sticker that is supposed to allow you. It's supposed to allow those who are transporting food to be able to access the places that are supposed to be guarded from the curfew hours. So if they have this, then they can move fresh produce, so they can move food from one area to another.
What we have done is worked with government. Institutions, the security, and there's a whole coordinating team. And we have given them the sticker, and these are the vehicle passes. You will be able to pass as long as you have that sticker, because the sticker you have, we have given it to the security. And we have shared, not just a sticker, we have shared a list. And we will continue updating the team every day when we get a new entrant. And we have provided the routes that those vehicles will be moving. Because for you to move cargo from Mount Elgon, for example, into Nairobi, we move it in the evening so that you have it in the marketplace in the morning. For people to move food from Nairobi and to Mombasa, most of it will go at night. And therefore, you are not prohibited to move fresh produce. What you need is to be registered, identified, and the details are shared with the coordinating team. And we have a command center that has been set up by government. And in this command center, it's a multi-agency team that has been put together to coordinate so that we do not get into a panic mode. We do not have shortage of food because we can't move. We are able to look at the logistics, and we get to know what exactly are essential goods and services that we require.
Okay.
So every person who comes into, every person who wants to move cargo from the farms into a specific market, what he needs to do is get in touch with us.
Right.
We will have them registered. We will ensure that their details are captured properly and that they will be able to move to the next level. As long as they are able to prove to us they have a market which we can identify with, and they have a farm where they're producing.
All right. So this is Fresh Produce Consortium, and you have an agreement now with the government and the authority and everything. So if somebody has been in this business and they want to be able to access the areas that are guarded after quarantine, after curfew, then this sticker will allow them to pass if they get in touch. Is there any other institution?
What we are doing,
still on that. Is there any other institution that is giving such permits besides Fresh Produce Consortium? Are there other institutions?
For example, what we've done is we came together with Flour Council, and what we have done is had this joint sticker, and if you look at the joint sticker, in green it's showing you a member of Fresh Produce Consortium. For Kenya Flour Council, it's written there, a member of Kenya Flour Council, and it has a different color. And there's a vehicle number, and there's a company, and a member of which institution, for accountability purposes, because people have fake stickers around. And we do not want to get a scenario where everybody has a sticker and we cannot be able to account for it because people want to use shortcuts. So different institutions have reorganized themselves. And I also belong to a group that I know is being coordinated and led by the CS for trade. And in this group, we are discussing logistics. How do you get milk? How do you get bread? When do you get it? Where are your routes? And it involves quite a number of leaders. And we are discussing day by day. Where we have a hurdle on any essential goods or services, we have government officials who are quick to help, and they have been very supportive. And I can repeat, they've been very supportive. What we need to do is people need to come out and explain. People need to come out and say, listen, I have cargo from point A and point B. And for some reason, many people may not belong to any institution. We have opened the doors. This is not a moment of asking, who are you, where do you come from? As long as we're fighting for noble cause.
All right. Are there charges to be known now to this?
We have a small fee on the sticker, on the pass, just for administrative purposes. We've hired people. We have a 24-hour team that's working now, just to ensure that you have. But what is critical is not about the fee. What is critical here is about, we just want to register you so that you're on our register. And we have waived whatever fees that we had before. So all we need to do is just register. Once you're registered, we're good to go.
All right.
Now, before I move out of that place, it's also essential that I encourage those in the farming who are in the farms to continue farming, because what we are currently distributing is what was planted a few weeks or a few months ago. If we do not continue planting at the farm point, then we will have a scenario where we will have shortage of food.
Okay. Before we go into planting, because I know you also mentioned that it's a planting season, before we go into that, let us first deal with this distribution bit of it. There is a fear that people will not be able to get out as they normally do, to harvest, to package, and to move the food to the collection points in case of a partial lockdown or something worse than that. How are we going to deal with this?
As I said, there is a multi-agency team that is being coordinated, and they sit in one point, and there's a command center where all these fears that come out are shared and solutions are sought. One, for example, why we have stickers and vehicle passes is because we realized everybody may purport to be a distributor. So we needed, first of all, to identify. Two, in an event of a lockdown, there is currently a discussion between the county governments and the national government to really map out the sensitive areas and non-sensitive areas, the areas that people can afford and the areas that people cannot afford. So in case they have to be given food, then there will be a distribution, just like Coca-Cola, just like breweries, and just like different distributors have a way of getting to the last point. There is a plan already to see how to do and elaborate. However, before I proceed, I want to say, I wouldn't like to see a scenario where there's a lockdown because of misbehavior that we've had as a country, because of the indiscipline that we're having, because that's what will lead us to that point.
All right.
I insist that if people can abide by the rule, then we will be able to support them.
Okay, you've mentioned something that the distributor will be able to go to the last point. That means go to the point where they can access the source of the food and be able to pick it, so that we will not have a situation where those who have the food themselves cannot give it to the person who is distributing because the situation might not allow. You have there's a plan that can.
There is an elaborate plan.
Yes.
There is an elaborate logistical arrangement. There is a mapping that is already going. What is critical at this point in time is, one, I insist that Kenyans must stick to the rules. Two, that Kenyans must be able to reorganize and reschedule their patterns of operation. If the markets are opening at 7 and we have provided a way you can get your food at 7, you do your purchases so that we all don't end up in the market at 6 in the evening with a lot of rush, looking like we want to constrain the supermarkets and the groceries who have agreed to close a bit early. I know that I went to a supermarket yesterday and they closed at 4. And why they were closing at 4 is because they need their staff to be able to move and get to their homes on time. Now, there are also members within our institution who have now started doing online distribution. So if somebody really needs food in Karen or Kitusuru or Embakasi or Nyai or wherever estate you are, if you can get in touch, I will share all my contacts. You can get in touch with us. We can then link you to online distributors or men and women that are available to drop that food at your doorsteps so that we minimize the movement. And this can be stocked. This
includes vegetables,
this mostly
tomatoes,
is about
onions,
fruits and vegetables. I'm looking at the fresh vegetables.
All right.
Because if you look at manufactured goods, they have a longer shelf life. So I will not really panic about the longer shelf life. I will panic on the fruits and vegetables because these are things that need to be done now, and you need to take them fresh, and you want to avoid as much contamination as possible.
All right,
so that you can arrive, get fresh food, clean, and on time.
All right, and you've mentioned this online distribution. Let us take a look at, after solving the problem of getting it from the source and the logistics of distribution, now that the stickers and the different institutions that are making sure that when you have this permit, then you can travel overnight and drop the food at the destination or the place where it's consumed. The market setup is a tricky setup which looks like cannot be sustained in a very short time, probably, or we can assume that that market setup cannot survive because the crowds are there. Do we have a solution for this or a proposal how this food can still be accessed by the consumers if the market setup cannot be sustained?
Let me just go back up just a step behind.
Right.
One, as much as we have given people stickers, this is what we are insisting, that you must have a consistent staff on that road driving that car. Give the driver an identity from the company and ensure if there's a turn boy or a loader, they have been properly identified and that they stick by the rules. If they don't, and they are picked up by the police for one reason or another, we will have no way of supporting them.
What is the process of identification
What you need to do is to ensure that a company provides company identification, and where they are members of an institution or an association, there is need for them, if they think that is not enough in terms of the identification, we can still offer letters to support that this is our member, and these are their staff, and they are here for this business. So that has to be very clear, so that we do not have masqueraders along the way.
Right. Besides identification and this,
identification, we have letters. These are letters we can
Right.
offer. We have circulated the list of the same to the security agencies. They have been distributed to the county regional commanders. So there shouldn't actually be a challenge. But what I'm saying is that abide by the rule. I insist. Abide by the rules.
Okay, and for the rules in this case, you've mentioned identification.
One is identification,
and being registered.
Two, be registered.
Right.
If you have been given a car sticker or a pad, ensure that you have it.
All right.
And be in communication. Be in communication. If you are not in communication, we will not be able to support you. And if you're facing any challenge, please raise it up. There are toll-free numbers that I know have been given by government. But for those who belong to organizations or business and associations, they should be able to get in touch with their associations and their leadership to ensure that it's like what we've done is that we have a line we've given, and we have somebody there operating on 24 hours to be able to pick calls, to be able to respond. And we all remain on standby, and I'm on standby to support anyone. Now, what I want to do is say also, those who are not covered within our membership, and they think they are somewhere and they don't know what to do. As I said, by the end of this, we'll share numbers. They can reach to us, and we can quickly see how we can support them. Now, back to the marketplaces. It is an engagement here that we do not have to look at the market. We all need to say, what is our role? I'm happy I saw some market in Ruaka yesterday. Somebody who's innovative and has raised up a container, a nice good container, moving truck, and they arranged very good shelves, and they are able to supply food. What we need to do is ensure that we raise our food. We put a raised platform in the marketplace with an isolation and sell what you must sell there. Then let's work with the county government and Minister of Public Health and work with the market systems to ensure that if we think the market is contaminated, let's be designated a different location to ensure that we get our foods. Right. But critically,
do you see a situation where the market will not be sustainable?
I am seeing a situation where the market gets into a panic mood.
In such a case, how will people access food?
There is a pattern that is developing. Right. And I will tell you, if you look at the increased numbers that we are getting in terms of infections and confirmations, that is alarming. And that may actually lead us to a lockdown. I want to say this, number one, that men and women, when we were asked, Kenyans, when we were asked to talk about Nyumba Kumi, for example, I don't think we ever embraced it. This is the time we need to go back and say who are our neighbors and who are we within the estate. So that food can be delivered, if it has to be delivered, within the estate. Now, one. Two, it is possible that the markets may not be able to have enough infrastructure. And that's why we need to support those. And the private sector here has to come out. And let's forget about calling government to do everything. It's a partnership time. It's a time to take a responsibility and a leadership role to see what we can do within those markets to ensure that the food will be distributed.
All right.
In terms of the
meaning
farmers,
as we speak right now, there is no proper proposal or any proposal on the table.
Every market, every county has put a contingency plan, and they're working on something that is working. For example, in Mombasa, those who used to go to Kongoya Market have now been advised, from Likoni, don't go to Kongoya Market. Wait, the trucks have been allowed to go to Likoni. Are you getting it? So we are devolving into very small units in terms of villages, and that's what I'm saying, including the estates. A time is coming, if anyone here is within an estate leadership, they can actually provide a space, then we can provide trucks with fresh produce, with food that can come and pack in that place for 6 hours or 5 hours or 4 hours, pick your food items and move on.
Doesn't that mean then right now as we speak, those who are taking charge of distribution and accessibility of food then should start organizing people in the small estates to see that there is someone who can actually be used to deposit food so that it can be accessed?
I can confirm that there are already people who are doing that. What we have not done is, in my view, is Kenyans have not been that good, that innovative, quick enough. Because this is not about wasting time. This is about moving with speed to ensure that we have temporary, nice, good structures, whether it's mobile or semi-mobile infrastructure that will be set up in different estates for food, or even a truck. All we need to do is every estate leader has to come out and say, within the estate, this is what we are designating this space for food, so that food dealers and distributors can then find a reason why they should come to your estate, park there for 3 hours. And if that is done, we will tell the committee that is currently coordinating all this, At the command center, they can release a communique and say, estate this, estate this, estate this. There's already an organization, there's already an arrangement, this is designated. The supermarkets are part of this discussion, the groceries are part of this discussion, some farmer representatives are part of this discussion, we are part of this discussion, the Ministry of Agriculture is part of the discussion, trade is part of the discussion, foreign affairs is part of the discussion, the office of the president is part of the discussion, and we have public health providing us details on what we need to do. So we have come together, and this is a time to work together. Right. It is possible, it is doable. We need to rise up and move to the next level.
Take responsibility.
And ask questions. You will be given information. If you do not ask, you will not get information. And let's be open enough.
Okay, hold on just 1 second. We're coming back to talk about you've mentioned public health officers joining hands, and we have to look at the complexity of different areas in our country, and especially in the cities, and also the food prices. We're talking about distribution of food during this containment period. There is a partial lockdown of some sort, and the truth is the setup or the ordinary conventional setup of the markets might not be sustainable, especially with the spread of the virus going up, as we can see in the daily updates. The question many Kenyans have is, how will we be able to get food from the source distributed to the markets or the areas near us where we can access vegetables and fruits? And if you have any questions this morning concerning this, you can call in live. Piga simu, nambari ya simu iko pale chini kama unajiuliza kama Mkenya. Wakati ambapo sasa tunafungiwa ndani ya nyumba, tuko vizuizini kwa sababu ya virusi vya corona, tutapata chakula kwa njia gani? How are we going to get our food, our spinach and our sukuma wiki and our tomatoes and all that? Talk to us also. The SMS line is 22047, hashtag TV47 breakfast on Twitter and on Facebook as well. Uliza swali lako. Tuko naye CEO wa Fresh Produce Consortium, afisa mtendaji mkuu, Mr. Ojepat Okisegere. Shoot your questions and let us see if we can find the answers this morning. You've talked about public health offices, and that has brought to my mind we have different areas in this country. We have the slum areas, for instance. Is this setup going to work for each and every area in the country and in the city?
Listening to the CS for health yesterday, he did mention that we should not panic because they're going to hire 1,000 more health officers. But as we talk, there's already an officer designated for every area. We have county administrators and we have national administration represented in every village. Traditionally we have the chiefs, and we used to, some people will call them assistant chiefs or sub chiefs. They have an office somewhere, including Nairobi. So nobody should say, I don't know. You can find out in the next chief's office, where can I get a public health officer within that region to support you in what is, to have that information on what's happening within that area. Now, there are also then private service providers within the same area, and the public health officer ordinarily will know the private sector service providers. So that needs to be done. Critically for me is that Kenyans must take responsibility. That I will insist today. That if we take responsibility and take leadership within our estate, within the roads, within our office places, we will save a lot of energy and be able to support the health personnel who, for me, are overwhelmed, because in this situation we are in is a unique situation. It is something that we have no experience. It's something that we are not going to say we are looking for experience. We will handle it day
as it
by
comes.
Day.
All right, food prices, the logistics of transporting food, are they going to change things enough for the food prices to hike? Because now this is a different format of doing things, and now have to be registered into institutions like these ones. Maybe they have limited hours, maybe limited hours not, but is this going to change enough for us to experience higher prices of food?
Two things are happening. One, because of the panic already, and the logistical challenges, there's already scarcity of certain farm products in certain markets. One, when the curfew took effect on 27th. And you know what happened, and for some reason, and I'm sorry to say this, perhaps I should be forgiven for this, I think for some reason Kenyans did not know what a curfew means. In my young age, I experienced some curfew in our village. So when I heard of curfew, I knew what it means. Unfortunately, I think many Kenyans did not know what a curfew means. And we wasted a lot of time. We did not see this thing coming. And so when people are beaten, of course, some areas it went extreme. But I mean, at one point you want to ask yourself, what will government have done other than enforcing? So, and the process of enforcement may have taken.
Right. Well, that is very controversial.
Because of that, I now want to come back here and say, because of that, the following day, the trucks that were supposed to come into Nairobi or into different markets just shied off. People shied off. Because first of all, it was on Saturday. You did not know what to do. So many people held back. And most of the people will come back to the road today. So our supply for 2 days was already disrupted. And therefore scarcity on the other end. So the prices are coming up. Even as we talk, the whole of this week is going to be a challenge, because this is when people are now going to find out some bearing. And as they find out bearing, scarcity of certain commodities automatically will lead a price hike. Whether this is coming down any soon, I would say no. I'll say it will continue going up, because many people have gone into mass buying and panic buying that has led to those who are selling also find a reason to hike the prices.
We only have a few minutes, but is there a plan to control the mass buying so that everyone else will have food?
Unlike Europe, where they have decided if you go to the supermarket at the moment, you will only pick certain items. In our area in Kenya, we haven't. We're also a bit indisciplined. You want to buy from supermarket B, supermarket C. So by the end of the day, even if you are rationed, there will be Kenyans who will be hawking from one supermarket to another supermarket and trying to amass as much as possible. So there's a possibility. What the discussion is for all manufactured goods, I know that the highest price cap has been put, that they will not be able to overshoot. And sooner or later, you see government saying this is the highest prices that have been capped for this manufactured goods.
All right. Very fast.
But in terms of for fresh produce, it's a bit challenging, because it's about availability. If it's not available, people scramble for it, and the prices are likely to go up. If not, the portion you're given, for example, a bunch, may be reduced, but for the same price.
And that cannot be controlled, I guess.
It's a bit challenging. If it's not there, it's not there.
Right.
And the distribution currently is a challenge. And there's a panic within the farming community who are not currently sure whether to plant or not.
Okay, because I have 2 minutes before we are done, you mentioned that you would give directions on how you can be reached by people who want to register with Fresh Produce Consortium. We have a sticker here that has a Fresh Produce vehicle pass, and this, I can see it has a number plate of a vehicle, FPC Kenya, and it has the logo right there, and a member of Fresh Produce Consortium of Kenya. And this is supposed to allow the person who's transporting food to be able to move from point A to point B.
Perhaps you can give out that number.
All right.
It goes straight into our office.
Okay.
And there will be somebody who will pick the call, and each one of them will be guided through.
All right, so the FPC Kenya number, that is Fresh Produce Consortium Kenya number, is 0722 408 210 0722 408 210. If you want to register with Fresh Produce Consortium so that you can be able to move food from one area to another, and with a sticker, then you can go beyond the guarded areas within the curfew or containment period. All right, also in a minute, you were encouraging farmers to continue planting because it's a planting season.
Two things are happening.
Right.
One, we are facilitating and we're supporting the agri-dealers or agri-distribution, input distributors, so that the agri-distributors can be able to access and distribute their cargo. Thank God for the Ministry of Health, particularly through CS Betty. The challenges we are having on PVOC have been waived or suspended, and therefore access raw material should not be a challenge in terms of farm inputs. What is critical now is the agri-dealers need to get in touch with all of us or with the associations or whoever they are able to get in touch with to support. But I want to encourage farmers that food demand in the world is increasing by day. And it's important then that we take advantage of these rains to get into our farms, as long as we observe the rules that have been given to us by the government and directives in terms of COVID. But they should not even imagine of holding back. It is a time to plant, because after this season, they will for sure have the greatest benefit that they have ever had. If they have to make profits, if somebody wants to make profits in farming, should invest now. In farming right now, or as long as you have one person in the farm or two people, social distancing. We will help them at the farm, and you can be helped by Fresh Produce Consortium. Asante sana, Mr. Ojepat Okisegere. Nyajua kwamba this conversation is going to go on and it's going to be heated at some point. We will bring you back here to ask you when, I am available. If we do not have food, and when we don't have food, we'll bring you back to ask you. We are mapping the country. We are marking all fresh produce areas, and I will speak authoritatively on fresh produce. And I'll be able to tell you this, in this area we have, in this area is scarcity. We have our teams out there. And also on behalf of Kenyans, I'd like to ask you to make sure that we don't have scarcity, because if we have to eat to stay alive, then we really need it. If Kenyans continue planting, those who have farms, there will be no scarcity. But if those who are planting refuse to plant, I may not provide the food, but I will be able to provide information. All right, thank you very much. Asante sana. You're still watching TV47 Breakfast. It's hashtag TV47 Breakfast on Twitter and on Facebook as well, at TV47KE on Facebook as well. That was distribution of food during this containment period. This conversation goes on our timelines. I'm sure you have seen that you can comment, and we can connect you with Mr. Ojepat directly on social media, so that you can also get to access and know how you can get this fresh produce ordered online and delivered to your doorstep without any form of contact. I'm going to take quite a short break, but I'm coming back to inform you what's happening in the papers. In case you're not able to get out and buy a copy for yourself, then we got you. Don't go too far.